Way back in 2017, I made a video about a little company called the Universal Wrestling Federation, the Herb Abrams version, not the Bill Watts version. And ever since then, I've always wanted a chance to cover the one and only pay-per-view they ever did. And, you know, when I hinted at it a couple of reviews ago, a lot of you folks in the comments section correctly predicted it. And that's what we're looking at today. First, last, and only pay-per-view for the Universal Wrestling Federation. I'm talking about Beach Brawl from June 9th, 1991 at the Manatee Civic Center in Palmetto, Florida. Way back in late 1990, a man named Herb Abrams came into the wrestling business with nothing more than a huge bag of cocaine and a dream. He wanted the UWF to immediately position itself as a market leader, or at the very least, a huge competitor with the WWF and WCW. But if you've seen my video on this subject, you will know that did not happen. The UWF really tried to position itself as trying to bring wrestling back to the way it used to be. And I guess back in the early 90s, a comment like that, when wrestling had changed just so much in the last 10 years alone, that might have held some sway. The show was the UWF Fury Hour, and it aired weekly on the Sportschannel for several years, but it always looked a little sad, a little overlit, and a lot under-attended. It just didn't have a good infrastructure, and the presentation was seriously lacking when you consider the standards that were being set every week by the WWF and WCW at the same time. Like, no one's saying, oh, the wrestling was amazing back then, but at least it looked professional and nice and uniform, and UWF just never had that in any instance. We go live to the 4,000-seat venue where only 500 people are in attendance, maybe 550 if you're being generous. This got a 0.1 buy rate, making it the least purchased wrestling pay-per-view of all time. And when you think about it, this thing was seemingly doomed from the beginning, because Sportschannel, albeit national TV, it didn't have nearly the market reach or the size of the audience that ESPN had at the same time, for instance. But not only that, in my research for this, I learned that Palmetto, Florida didn't even run Sportschannel in that area. How insane is it to try and run a show and you can't even market to the people who live there because they don't get the channel that your show is on? The opening high package talks about tradition, fundamentals, the essentials of showmanship, the way pro wrestling used to be. It began in the summer of 1990 with a mandate from founder and president Herb Abrams to bring professional wrestling back to the glory days. Don't you love that? All it took was a mandate from a guy. Herb Abrams, he said, let's bring it back, and they all said, okay. Then we get some faces floating by, and it says, now in the proud tradition of these and other great champions, the UWF is ready to break from the past and crown their own champion. Which, boy, that sentence really knocked around in my head for a while when I first heard it, because it feels like a very contradictory statement in and of itself. The UWF is ready to break from the past, crown their own champion, but the UWF also strictly adheres to the past and respects and loves and cherishes the past. But we must break away, form a new champion, but we loves the past. It breaks down the card like a mammoth butt-kicking street fight. The Killer Bees are now mass confusion, apparently. There's an old-ass promo pic of Bob Backlund in lieu of any footage, and then a great read by the voiceover guy here.
And to one of these titans will go the UWF Sportschannel Television Championship belt.
Then we go to pre-tape promos of tonight's main eventers, Bam Bam Bigelow and Dr. Death Steve Williams. The promos themselves are fine for, early 90s stock wrestling promos. They're just being almost drowned out by this dubbed-ass crowd noise the whole time. Luckily, we don't hear that during the show itself, although part of me wishes we did.
Hey, Polly, when they feel the stampede, it's all over.
Brian Ricco is the host of this extravaganza. He brings in the president, Dr. Herb Abrams, who has the brand new UWF Sportschannel TV Championship belt. Bigelow and Dr. Death are fighting for that tonight in the main event. Looks pretty nice. I have to say, I have an affinity for, silver championships, although I think if they got rid of that zebra stripe logo they had up top, it would be an all-timer, honestly. Herb is elated. He's pumped up. He is zooted out, brother, because tonight's main event's going to crown the new champion. Then they plug a 900 number to hear the Beach Brawl live by phone as it's happening. But we're already watching the show. You know, we paid money to see the show with our eyes on the television screen. We don't want to pay money to call a hotline to also hear it through a phone. Who's that for? Like, you try and sell that to people who did not get the pay-per-views. You're already past the paywall. You already got their money, brother. And don't forget to call Captain Lou's hotline, of course. We have seen tons of ads for Lou's hotline, especially on UWF Fury Hour. I'm pretty sure Albano took a pay cut in just favor of getting more of these ads on there. Then we tossed the commentary team for the night, former WWF guys Craig DeGeorge and living legend Bruno Sammartino. And you can hear a pin drop as they're getting ready for this show. They say 500 people are here. It might as well be 50, because that's how it sounds for most of this thing. And Bruno, sadly, he's low energy even by his standards for this show. We then go to a pre-tape of Frank E. interviewing Bam Bam Bigelow about the match. It's the biggest night of your career, he says. And how are you preparing for this? I'll tell you what, Bam Bam was not prepared for that question, because he just stumbles the whole time through saying, I'm working at training hard. It's going to be a very, very strong strategy, very precision, and I'm going to do great things to the beach brawl. And they ask him, well, are there going to be any surprises? And he goes, well, everybody knows that the Bam Bam Bigelow myself, yeah, me, I have a lot of surprises. I got a lot of mobility, Joe-bility, and ho-bility. I got it all. He's got the mobility and the ho-bility and the Joe-bility. I love that. He's just riffing. He says, along with the championship, you get more money, and when you get more money, you get happy. And he also dedicates the match to his son, who just turned 3 years old. Aw. And of course, since we heard from Bam Bam and Dr. Death in the cold open, and we heard from Bam Bam just now, we gotta hear from Dr. Death again. And so he's interviewed in a separate pre-tape. He's asked if there are any special surprises. There ain't no surprises. I'm not pulling anything out of my sleeve. One-on-one, whatever it takes. An arm drag, fireman's carry, put you in the guillotine. Right, 1, 2, 3, and an Oklahoma Stampede. I love the sign off by Frank here. Here he goes. Strong words from a strong man. Who wins? You decide. No. No, Frank, we don't get to decide that. So finally, 11 minutes into this show, after further selling the home video and the program for this event, we go to our first match of the evening as the Firecat, aka the Lynx, and Jim Cooper take on the Blackhearts, spelled with or without an E depending on the chyron that pops up. So the Blackhearts, they come from Anywhere, USA, which is a great location for characters named Apocalypse and Destruction. They are accompanied by Luna Vachon. It's really cool to see her in action here. And not only that, one of the masked men is the future Gangrel, David Heath. So you get to see kind of the beginnings of Gangrel and Luna as a couple here as part of the Blackhearts. They do a little prayer circle in the ring, and we get this fire coming out of a goblet spot, but it looks like they fuck it up the first time. And I think the whole gimmick with these guys is they just shriek a lot. They just hold their hands up like this, and they go, ah!
You know, look at us. She'll do some interference. She'll do some distractions. No, like that.
Like, I don't know if that's a great sound to be making when you're this gimmick. You're supposed to be, ooh, evil and dark and mysterious. The Blackhearts, Apocalypse, Destruction. I don't know if ah is the noise I think is associated with that.
475 pounds. They are
Gangrel, aka Apocalypse, he posts off his partners back to hit a leaping clothesline on Cooper. Cooper ain't selling shit. I don't know who this guy is. He just keeps moving along with the spots in his head. Nothing phases this guy. Meanwhile, Firecat looks pretty good in this thing. He is one of the most agile sons of a gun you'll see around this time. A lot of quick tags between the Blackhearts, but Firecat with some great hope spots. Then in comes Cooper, who immediately gets cut off, dropped onto the top rope, takes the death sentence, and the Blackhearts win. Meanwhile, Luna jumps Firecat and chokes him with her chain. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. It's a pretty solid opening match, and I'm going to make this kind of the baseline for the evening. I think maybe 3 out of the 4 guys in this match show promise. Looks like they're going to go somewhere. We know that, Firecat's going to become Battle Cat in the WWF not too long from now. And of course, one half of the Blackhearts becomes Gangrel, and Luna also spends time in the WWF as well. But don't worry, because we're not done seeing these characters yet. We get a backstage promo with the winners. Luna is screaming, how dare the UWF put the Blackhearts against such scrubs? And the interview guy's offended by her saying that. Just scrubs? And she goes, I didn't stutter. Meanwhile, Gangrel and his friend let out some more shrieks, and Luna says that she wants them all. She wants to see the Blackhearts defend themselves against anyone who comes along. Up next, it's being billed as a street fight as Terry Bam Bam Gordy takes on Johnny Dynamic Dude Ace. They were building up a street fight between Gordy and Don Morocco leading up to this event, but Morocco no-showed, didn't give an explanation as to why, and so at the very last minute, they said, oh, he's ailing. Ailing Don Morocco is what they say on this show to explain why he's not here, and he's being replaced at the last minute by Johnny Ace, who is, fresh off of his time in WCW, teaming with Shane Douglas. No skateboard here tonight, though. You got a young Billy Silverman as the ref. I can't get over his arm movements in this match, though. He's very much like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. He's like, you pay attention to him in this match because he does that a lot. And Jesus, Johnny Ace kind of looks like Bobby Eaton here. He's not quite a legend of Japan. He hasn't gotten quite grizzled yet. You start out with some headlock takeovers in the street fight, as you do. They work their way up to a crossbody, kick out and a punch. The crowd does like that. Gordy is just laying into Ace for a while, but then Johnny makes this fiery comeback, goes for a dive on the outside, and just eats shit on the floor. Oh my God, you can see him like slip through Terry's arms as he's trying to catch him, and Gordy checks on him after he falls. That looks scary. They fight to the outside, up into the crowd. Oh no, this is the worst place to fight because now you're showing all those empty seats. Then suddenly the bell rings and it's ruled a double count out, double disqualification, yeah, in a street fight where literally the ring announcer said, anything goes, and he, ooh, anything goes, and we get double count out? Like, did the referee forget? But they keep brawling and just keep locking horns over and over again. At one point, there's a front face lock for the longest time. They're talking, trying to figure a way out of this. Gordy re-enters the ring. He barks a little bit. Ace leaves and comes back. Then Gordy powders. Ace is now beckoning him on, but Gordy just takes a lap around the floor, which is hilarious. Ace catches up to him. The brawl continues. The bell keeps ringing. Can somebody figure out what the fuck is happening? Billy, can you please keep your arms in check? Please, you're doing this a lot. It's very distracting. I give it 1 star out of 5. Man, it was a perfectly fine match until somebody forgot the fucking rules and made it a double count out. It was a bit weird of a start for a street fight, but there's no heat to it. So starts off with grappling, it escalates, and it was getting fine until it fell apart. At least, the guys tried to recover and give the fans something to remember afterward, like the prolonged fighting in the crowd. Then the announcers have to kill time for a bit, and Bruno's asked, well, you fought for titles before. What was going through your mind? And Bruno's like, well, when I tell you, you gotta put all the worries out of your mind because you made it this far. Ding, ding. Oh, let's get to that thought later, Bruno. Up next, the Power Twins, Dave and Larry, take on Mass Confusion / Masked Confusion. Yeah, Killer Bees have reunited here. B. Brian Blair was here for a while for the first 2 weeks of UWF, and on Fury Hour, they actually have like a weekly Ask the Wrestlers segment where presumably fans watching this show mail in letters for the wrestlers to answer. Oh, that's very sweet. So somebody actually asked B. Brian Blair, hey, when you gonna team up with your good friend Jim Brunzell again? And it just so happens he's like, well, never say never. You might be excited to see what comes up. And he was right, because then Brunzell shows up. Also, as they're making their entrances, it just hits me that we have 2 teams going against each other here who both have like twin magic in their repertoire. It'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out. B. Brian Blair's got to go under the legs twice in order to get one spot off. I think they were in the wrong position at first. The faces get a shit ton of double teaming off in this match. I love the double spinning toe hold. Looks like they're going to smooch. Blair takes the heat for a long time. Larry or Dave with a big old slam. Crazy looking double backdrop. Dave or Larry do some more chicanery with the ref's back turned. Commentary totally no-sells it. Brunzell is literally within backslapping distance to get that tag, but he does not go for it. Like, come on, man. The Bees both get shit canned to the outside, and now we see the trap has been set. It's Mass Confusion, and now I imagine Brunzell's in the ring. You could have just slapped his back. It was right there. Classic finish when Larry or Dave blocks one sunset flip. Blair does one of his own in the switcheroo, the pin, and the win. I give it 2 stars out of 5. It's a fine enough return for the Bees, but again, the commentary really stuck in my craw for this one. Because, again, if a major part of the story is the Twins are doing this nefarious switcheroo to get heat, and that the Bees ultimately do the same thing to get a win, you should try to mention that, is all I'm saying. Coming up next to crown the first UWF Ladies Champion, we have Candi Devine taking on Rockin' Robin, who herself is a former women's champion in the WWF. She was a singer of the national anthem at WrestleMania. Also, Jacob the Snake Up Roberts' sister. This is a match that gets no build, as far as I'm concerned. I was going back several episodes of the Fury Hour to look for this. Like, there are some women's matches. You see like Luna taking on Malia Hosaka in one taping, but I don't think Candi or Rockin' Robin are around at all here. Candi with some bad sportswomanship at the start, but Robin comes back. I like that elbow drop she does. Very simple yet effective. Drop down, leapfrog, forearm to the mush. Candi fights back, puts Robin in the Boston Crab. We get some near falls. Robin blocking an attack in the corner and comes back. We get some weird missed offense. Just kind of looks like each woman's not selling for the other here. Corner punches by Robin. Candi goes for another corner attack but misses. The roll up and the win for Robin. First ever ladies champ for the UWF. I think that when you compare it to what the men of the time are doing, these ladies have to be faster, a little bit quicker, and I think this match definitely operated at a different pace from everything else on this show. But yeah, it's crazy. I really doubted that the UWF were giving the ladies true consideration. Like, this championship seems like a nice gesture, but you can tell just from their shows and how they lay out, you know, who they schedule and who they book, they don't really care about this. Coming up next, a strap match as Colonel DeBeers takes on Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. So the story goes, Colonel DeBeers, pro-apartheid South African fella, heckin' racist. If you followed him in the AWA, of course, leading the charge for a little bit at the end of the Team Challenge series, you know that's his shtick, and he carries that over with him into the UWF. In fact, one of the first things he does on the Fury Hour is he protests a black referee for his matchup. He goes, "That is a black man. I will not have him referee my matches." And I don't know if Orndorff fighting him in this strap match is even like a part of like any grander story. It's never really indicated that Orndorff is like standing up, making a deliberate like protest against Colonel DeBeers here. Like, none of his promos mention him at all. Also, the Colonel briefly had a black guy of his own at ringside named Mr. Black. That was pretty on the nose. He's like, "I'm an equal opportunity employer. This is a black man who does things for me." But it's only on TV for like 1 week and is nowhere to be seen for this matchup. Orndorff coming out to "You Can't Touch This" by MC Hammer is gotta be the funniest thing I've ever heard. The match begins with a tip-off for the strap, which I've never seen done before in a match like this. But DeBeers grabs possession first. He gets to punching with it. The Colonel runs into the corner. He traps himself on the top rope. Signature Colonel DeBeers bump here, and now Orndorff gets to the strapations, dude. I did love seeing the referee chastise Orndorff for choking DeBeers with the strap. You can hit a guy with a strap, but God forbid, man, don't you fucking choke him. That's just beyond the pale. So Paul gets knocked down. He is able to hide the strap under his body as the Colonel goes up top, goes for a flying nothing, falls right into the strap. DeBeers telegraphs again, falls right into a pile driver. Mr. Wonderful wins, and then as Orndorff is celebrating, waving Old Glory, DeBeers pulls out a stun gun from his jacket and just like sticks it into Orndorff's like neck and shoulder. And as Orndorff is like selling and convulsing, going to the ground, commentary is like, that's what ladies use for self-defense. It's like, what a wimp. It's a great sell by Paul. He's doing his best, like Hulk Hogan, like he's selling and twitching before the Hulk up thing. As DeBeers steals the American flag, "I'm gonna take it back to Johannesburg. Ah, my fucking nerves." It certainly was something. It's crazy to me, though, that looking at the field of competitors we have, of all like the veterans who are kind of on the way down, that Orndorff is the one with the most upside, because the UWF is but a pit stop for him. He's coming back up, baby. He's going to be WCW TV champ in no time. Coming up next, oh my God in heaven, it's a live edition of The Captain's Corner. Billy, Billy, Billy with Captain Lou Albano himself, one of the UWF's biggest and most recognizable names from the glory days, bringing his name recognition and all of his damn hotline commercials to the UWF. And every week they have this pre-taped green screen promo called The Captain's Corner. And it's usually just him babbling about nothing. They bring a wrestler in. I don't think he even really talks to them. He just kind of talks at them and puts them over. And then the wrestler says one thing, and then Albano will talk some more. Like one time he just got into a screaming match with John Tolos. Another time he's got Malia Hosaka on screen. He just makes up a bunch of fake Japanese. And then my favorite part of this is that they keep rolling and they keep playing the end of the promo after they've both walked off camera.
That was my Japanese baby, the captain did it. I don't know what I'm saying either.
So now he comes out to the crowd to do a live version of this segment. Looks like he's holding a joint in his hand as he's there. He goes, "We're going to bring out a team I don't particularly like or care for, the Blackhearts and their half-wit manager Luna. Come on out, team." Okay, so first of all, we are now going to see the Blackhearts for the third time across this show. No one else is getting like airtime except for like, Bam Bam and Dr. Death as much as the Blackhearts on this show. Like, are these guys really the team of the future? They're not that crazy, y'all. But more importantly, Albano just spends the whole time burying the fuck out of this team. They don't get to say anything. As they're coming out, Albano just keeps talking shit about him, going, "You think about being a moron when you think about, take a look at this lady. Is this lady a sicko?" And he's talking about the snake around her neck. He's going, "Get away from me, girl, with that half-looking back of your neck.
With that half-looking forehead, bang on the back of your neck."
My favorite part of this segment is when one of the guys does a fireball spot. It looks like shit, and then Albano totally no-sells it as he continues on with his rant. "You talk about a team I don't like or respect. They're bad for our children. They're talking about evil. They're talking about bad. They're talking about not good. I don't like them. I don't think you people should like them. I don't like her or her team. I gotta go." And he leaves. And then the cherry on top is that Craig DeGeorge says, "Captain Lou is frightened." I don't know if Captain Lou and the way he was acting would be frightened. He seemed upset. He was just badgering them, wouldn't let them talk, and he spikes the mic and says, "Fuck you, I'm out of here." What was the point of this segment? I mean, way to get the Blackhearts over, I guess. It's time now for what the ring announcer calls the much anticipated Legends match as Ivan Koloff, accompanied by Mr. Red, takes on the debuting Bob Backlund. It blows my mind that WCW, for all the time it existed and all the money they had, were never able to get their hooks into Bob Backlund at any time in his later years. But Herb Abrams was able to give this guy a fucking payday. Koloff with an early advantage in the match, able to outwork Backlund at first, but Bob showing off that signature strength, just deadlifts Ivan and puts him onto his own shoulder. That stuff's incredible. Only a few more seconds of action here. He hits the O'Connor roll out of the corner and Backlund wins. After the bell, we see Koloff and the manager, Mr. Red, getting pissed. Then Lou Albano shows up. He gets in the ring, he decks Mr. Red, then he pantses him. Red selling the heck out of this. He's running all the way around the ring with no pants on. It gets one of the biggest reactions of the night. That being said, I'm going to give this one a half star out of 5. This match almost went no time at all. But you know what? Bob still got it in the limited amount we saw him. You have to believe Vince McMahon was probably watching this tape back and going, "You know what? Let's give this guy another shot in about 2 or 3 years or so. So make sure he gets a haircut first." Interesting thing about Mr. Red, I know he will go on to become Colonel Red and will feud with the one and only Herb Abrams at some point down the line. That's my only knowledge of him in this context. But boy, it's good to know that Lou also wanted to put his friend Bob Backlund over and not like the Blackhearts. Up next, Cactus Jack and Bob Orton Jr. with John Tolos as their manager take on the team of Sunny Beach and Steve Wild Thing Ray. That's Wet and Wild. This is actually one of the only matches on this show that I think has some kind of build to it, because these guys had a tag match several weeks ago, ended in a time limit draw. Then when they had a rematch, John Tolos got involved, and so now the manager, the Golden Greek, is going to be suspended above the ring in a shark cage. As far as Steve Ray, one of the most infamous things he would do with his career actually took place just before this pay-per-view. He had a matchup with Dr. Death Steve Williams it was a tournament match. One of the few tournament matches for the big championship at the end they actually put on TV was between
these two guys.
Now, the story behind it is Dr. Death was allegedly paid extra by Herb Abrams to shoot on Steve Ray because Steve was apparently sleeping with Herb Abrams' wife. But as Steve Ray himself has said in an interview with me on the video that I did for this company, apparently that itself was a work, and that Herb was doing that to gas up Steve Ray, I guess, and make him look more like a badass because he took a beating from Dr. Death or something. It's a really wild story. You know, it's just part of the great tapestry of bullshit, batshit craziness that was the UWF during this time. The cool guys come out with some hot babes, and my goodness, the amount of combined hair product between all four of these people, if you just like flicked a lighter next to them, they would all just go up in flames. And Sonny Beach's gimmick is unbelievable. He comes out with a surfboard, he brings it into the ring, stands on it, then he pivots. Whoa, far out, man. The match begins, the baby faces throw Tolos into the shark cage outside the ring, which then slowly rises. As the match goes on, Cactus takes Sonny Beach down to the concrete, then takes flight with his trademark elbow. Man, that looks sick. Cactus offers his head as a double team weapon for Cowboy Bob. Wild Thing with the hot tag, and he's all over the baddies. A little do-si-do with Ray and Jack ends with the ref getting smooshed. Tolos tosses down a set of brass knuckles to Orton. Whoa boy, here he comes with the punch. Oh, he decks his own partner instead. Wet n Wild capitalized the cover on Sustack. The blonde baby faces win. Then after a moment, Bob just decides to attack his partner intentionally this time. The two are just tearing at each other, brawling all the way to the back as Tolos can just blow his whistle at them in a feeble attempt to stop. I'm going to give it 1.5 stars out of 5. It's a match that I wish was given more time because I think that all four guys could have put something really fun together. Tolos, this will be his last appearance in the company. Pretty soon after this, he is going to go right to the WWF and become a manager known as The Coach, not to be confused with Jonathan Coachman. Also, how cool is it that Foley's career spanned such a time that he was able to team with Bob Orton Jr. and then later feud with Bob's son, Randy. I mean, that's pretty wild. On we go now, the main event. It's the tournament finals to crown the new UWF Sports Channel television champion as Dr. Death Steve Williams takes on Bam Bam Bigelow. They had a big 16-man tournament to get here. Supposedly, I say that because I don't think they aired more than 1 or 2 matches, and they were actually billed as tournament matches on Fury Hour. Most thing you ever got was a full screen graphic telling you oh, Colonel DeBeers beat Iceman King Parsons in the first round. And that's all you get. And one of my favorite parts of the build is they do some really weird editing where Herb Abrams does a stand-up saying, well, Bam Bam Bigelow was supposed to fight Cactus Jack, but Jack didn't show. And so Bam Bam suspects it's a Dr. Death ploy. And so let's cut to the ring and we see them having this scrap after the match that didn't happen. So it's they're clearly trying to make some bullshit up to cover some issue with the booking here. I just love the fact that why would Bam Bam get mad that a Dr. Death ploy made them have to wrestle 1 fewer match? Oh, you dirty trickster, you made me skip a match against a crazy guy in Cactus Jack, and I'm a bit more fresh and taking you on. Oh, what a baddie you are. But this should be a good one, 2 heavy hitters, lots of global acclaim between the two of them. A couple of years before this, Bigelow was on the cusp of becoming a really huge star in the WWF. They probably have the most mileage ahead of them out of any other veteran on this roster, short of Cactus Jack. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how this one turns out. First out comes Herb Abrams walking out with the $100,000 belt, which I am going to call bullshit on because, look, as someone who himself has purchased a custom belt, I can tell you no belt costs that much to produce. Even the $1 Million Championship was about a shoot $40K, as the legend goes. If he really did spend $100,000 on it, I would say he spent a bit too much. Herb shakes some hands. Bigelow gets physical with him because Herbie is a huge mark for himself. That gives Williams the opportunity to strike first, but Bigelow takes over. Williams is bleeding right from the get-go, but he recovers. Big clothesline and a big bump. Now Bam Bam is bloody. Huge bombs thrown by Dr. Death. Bam Bam fights back as well. Hits a diving headbutt, but only a 2 count, which was crazy to see. Steve hits back. Big old clothesline. The Oklahoma Stampede twice just to bring the bigger man down. We get a power slam and a kick out. They work their way toward another one. That one does the trick. Dr. Death wins and is the new TV champion. Herbie gives Stevie the belty and we get an in-ring interview. He goes, what do you have to say to the fans? Great! And he puts over Bam Bam, but Big Daddy took it to ya, and he's the champ. He wants to take on every challenger in the world. He leaves, and Herb reiterates, wow, this is my champion. He's so confident in his abilities, and I'm gonna endorse this. We're setting an open challenge out to any champion in any federation anywhere in the world, which that's an easy claim to make. You know, I don't know how many people are watching, so they're not even going to know the challenge is out there. But either way, I give it 3 stars out of 5. It is the only match on this card worth really watching. It's the only one worth a shit. These guys never really let up the whole time. It is a shorter match. It's only like 7 minutes, which for a main event for the championship, that feels like kind of a weak ending, but they definitely gave the fans their money's worth. You know, no wasted motion, no bullshit, no crappy finishes, just hard-hitting wrestling. You know, they brought it, and I think that was a great way to end the show. Then we hear some reactions from commentary as the dozens of fans file out of the building. Then we go backstage where Brian Ricco interviews Dr. Death again. He says he's in a lot of pain, he's bleeding, but all the pain's gone away because he's the champion. He says some other stuff, then wraps it up by saying, "I've got to go see another doctor." And then Ricco recaps the replay of the finish. He goes, "Uno, dos, tres." I'm like, ooh, I really wish he had went uno, dos, adios. There's more banter from Craig and Bruno. Some fans are still there sitting behind them. They just want to be on TV so bad. Bruno is mid-analysis when they start cutting the lights. They're like, everyone get the fuck out of here. Go home. But we're still not done, because after that, we then go to some VTR. They're going to recap the outcomes from the other matches in the night. So we have a really hard time, though, syncing up their background images with the text chyron. Typos include the black hearts, no E again. Mask confusion is now mask confusion. It gets to the point where they just give up halfway through, where it stays on a still image of the belts for a while. This is hilarious. The credits include Domino's Pizza for catering as we get one final shot of the sad, empty arena with the house lights up. Beach Brawl, everybody! And I'm going to give it a grade of D+. It's not the worst show I've ever seen in doing this. In fact, I went into it thinking it was going to be a lot worse than it was, so it kind of flipped my expectations for that. Its biggest sins, really, are that it's super boring and the production is not great. I think that if everything were the same and you put it under like a WCW banner with proper marketing and like infrastructure and a crowd, it would probably feel like a much better show than it was. There was only one finish out of everything on this show that truly pissed me off, and that was like the street fight stuff. Everything else was just kind of there for me. And then, man, what was the point of that live Cap and Lose segment, if only just to get him out there? You may be shocked to learn the show did such poor numbers, pay-per-view was never brought up again for the fledgling company. They would have one more large-scale-ish event in 1994. It ended up being the last show they ever ran, the UWF Blackjack Brawl in Las Vegas, but that's a story for a whole other time. What did you think about the UWF Beach Brawl, and how about this review? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Hit the bell icon to get all the notifications. It was a lot of fun going back in this time, revisiting UWF after I covered it so many years ago for the big video. Coming back here watching the pay-per-view was a lot of fun, but all I could think to myself as I was watching was, man, what's the WWF doing around this time? Next here on the Classic Review, we're going to find out when I review SummerSlam 1991. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.